This man purports to be Julien Smith. I'm not willing to agree with that because he's clearly in a hidden location.
Yes.
You can't afford lights, but hopefully with the release of this new book, you'll get something like that handled. I accidentally called your book the Filch or something like that, but it's the Flinch. And to understand this, what you're kind of saying is basically, you know, if I go to punch you, you might flinch, and why that's a good thing in your opinion. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's two things. There is the flinch, the biological thing, is something that can't be prevented, and so, but it's a reaction to anxiety, to fear, or to pain of some kind. But we also have a learned flinch, a flinch that when children, for example, when they are afraid of the dark, it's a kind of learned reaction that maybe they pick up from other people or something. But the point is that this flinch has become totally inappropriate to our environment. So now we flinch at sitcoms for some reason. We flinch at asking a girl to the prom. We flinch at public speaking. We flinch at the wrong things. Our biology, in a sense, is hindering us, and it's about how to solve that problem.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned in there is being afraid of the dark, and you're clearly not afraid of the dark. You're sitting in it. The question,
I'm comfortable with it. Yeah.
One of the accusations that this book is much better written, Stephen Pressfield, do the work. You start with the notion of an enemy or an opponent, which is, sort of like the resistance in Stephen Pressfield. And you go after it that way. You're like, you have to take on all these things. What was the premise? I mean, why bother? I mean, Pressfield wrote you could say it was an okay book, but why bother?
Not even an okay book. Actually, Do the Work is kind of like just an offshoot of his real, sort of genius masterpiece work, The War of Art. And I think the reason that the Flinch is different, although I can totally see the connections, is because it deconstructs the underpinnings of why it happens and how to go through the wall, how to go through your programming. The War of Art, or Do the Work, just says there's resistance. Sit on your ass and do it anyway. That's essentially the War of Art, or Do the Work. Whereas the Flinch is about the generalized anxiety reaction we have to anything new. It's not about art. It's not about any lofty thing. It's about the fact that you can't have a proper fucking conversation with your wife, husband, girlfriend, or boyfriend about the things that fucking matter. And in general, if you're unable to do those things, you have a generalized flinch that is fucking your life up. So it's time that you got out of that rut that you're in. And this book has exercises for you to do that, which is strange to say, but it's true. And it also examines the instincts so that you understand yourself why it's happening.
I don't think people are going to do anything that this book says. I think this is another book that people are going to acquire, and they're going to read it. And I think they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I really should do that. And the minute the word should goes into their language, they're going to shut up and go off and have a latte. Julien,
right.
Besides, I mean, you have a sizable travel experience going on. I mean, you go all over the place. And besides that, besides flying to people's houses and just punching them in the mouth, how do you get them to get into this? Because, I mean, really, honestly, I think they're just not – I mean, they're going to download this file. They're going to put it in a folder called Really Should Read, and they're going to go and look at Cityville.
You know what? I totally agree. And honestly, this the book examines this differentiation between those that do and those that don't. And I swear to God, people have become angry at this work because of the divisions that I make in it and the fact that I'm like, you can't do this thing, fuck you. Like, you're worthless. So, but it's not about the thing that I want you to do. It's about the thing that you yourself claim to want to do, but obviously aren't doing. So to me, this is a clear division. And almost everyone, and I totally agree, some of the exercises in this book are comfortable and fine, and some of them are things that I personally am even myself now uncomfortable with. And if you can't do them, then you have to ask yourself why. There are things that are not dangerous, but that provoke a flinch reaction. And you have to ask yourself who's really in the driver's seat. Are you in the driver's seat? Or is the brain, your little anxiety, what Seth Godin would call the reptile brain, in control? Who's in control? You or the primitive little fucking monkey you?
I'm going to go with the monkey me. But, so for example, one of the homework assignments you have is turn on the water in the shower and get it really freezy cold and step in. And right. What you really want to do is just get into what's the feeling beforehand and what's all the apprehension. And I think that it's a great way to explain it all. But again, I think it's something people aren't going to do. And what is
so,
that?
You know
Why
what?
do they do that?
You know what, dude? Honestly, to me, I'm like, there's only so far that you can fucking hold people's hands. At some point, you're just like, you know what? Screw this. I can't everyone has somebody like this in their life. They go, oh, you're so cool and you're so interesting. I'm sure you have someone like this. Everyone does. And they're like, you're so cool and you're so interesting and you're so smart. yeah, you're that person for me. So, and then you go, but I'd like you to, I want to take you to this place. Come to this place where this, and they're like, nah, and they're like, nah. And eventually you're like, no, okay, fine, I'm done. I'm done with you. So I'll tell you something. This is for people who want to do something. If you do not want to do anything, then forget about it. Forget you even saw this video. Forget the fact that this is on every fucking blog in the world right now or whatever day you're seeing it. And just go back to your regular life. Put it in the folder and just move forward. I don't care.
It's been brought to my attention by censors, but that you curse a lot. And I was curious whether or not, at some point it's that fear of that it's an affectation, but I don't think that is true with you. Is cursing a dividing line for you? And what benefit does it serve that you are no longer cognizant of what, how often you say things that would make people cry?
Fact, during a restaurant, during a supper that Chris and I had with some other people, I don't think I've ever told this story before. I'm swearing as I usually do. This was years ago. And then Brogan comes back from another table, wherever he is, and he goes, I just paid for those people's supper. And I go, why? And he goes, because they were about to leave because you were swearing so much. And I think I almost cried because of, I don't know that there's an end to this story. There's no but it's true. And anyway, you know what? The Flinch was identified because of the fact that I swear in places where other people don't. And it was identified by me and Jonathan Fields in an interview very much like this, where I saw him about to do it and then realized that he had an audience that he had to speak to. And then he was like, and I watched him do it. And I was like, my God, I just saw the walls of his programming go up and stop him from doing the thing that really doesn't matter. And so from that point on, it became a process of identifying it and giving it a name and all these other things. And Godin had a lot to do with that. He was heavily involved in editing. You were too, like all these people who helped me make it from a piece of crap into something that was, I think, pretty solid.
Far less a piece of crap, or a very solid piece of crap now. So it's going to hurt if it comes out.
Crap. Right, exactly. We'll
see.
So
thanks for clearing that up, because clearly with my sizable ego, I was under the impression that you'd written the book for me. It should be called The Flinch, Chris Brogan's a big lard ass. But really it's The Flinch, Jonathan Fields is a pussy and should learn to address his crowd in a reasonable way.
It is actually. He wants to change because, the whole thing is I want to become this thing. I want to become I want to become more of a badass in his public persona.
He's like a yoga instructor and stuff.
I know,
exactly. How badass is it? Namaste, Jonathan. Now you've got people throwing coffee cups around their house. You've got ways to get hurt. You've essentially said you should do real live fight clubs and things like that. How's that going to appeal to a business person? This is a business show. What business person is going to apply the Flinch? They're such pussies most times. They're going to go back to work and not say anything to anybody that they even read it. They're going to ignore it.
Mm-hmm. So you're right, again. And most of the people who download this will do nothing that is in there. And fine, because it's beyond anything I could do at that point. But business people specifically are those that need to recognize the Flinches inside their organization. And that's because of the fact that change is occurring faster than ever. And the Flinch is essentially a blind spot. It's a thing that you refuse to look at because it makes you uncomfortable. So if you're looking at a Blockbuster and Netflix, you can see the Flinch practically happening over and over again as one encroaches upon the other, gets closer and closer and closer until it wipes the behemoth out. David and Goliath is the Flinch. It's Goliath going, I cannot be destroyed. And if he has a blind spot that does allow him to be destroyed, then that's essentially, it guarantees that will destroy him. So every organization has something like that. It has a thing that they're not looking at.
Is the Flinch routed in settling? Do you think that the Flinch, the byproduct of the Flinch is I have flinched, so I will settle on this thing. I will no longer reapproach? Right.
So it's not, it doesn't lead, it is in fact, it leads to settling, because it's this thing that I'm like, there might be something amazing beyond that wall, but I'm just not going to look at that wall. That wall makes me nervous. And in fact, it's been internalized so much that it's almost like a physical sensation. It doesn't even occur in the brain anymore. It occurs here, and it tightens your chest up, and it makes your pulse like, and everybody feels this about some things, whether it's talking to someone that they respect, or whether it's, whatever it is, they feel some kind of anxiety about it. And if they're unable to push through and become the person that is fine with the thing that they're afraid of, then they have essentially limited themselves, and they will settle. Point final. Sorry, that's French. Fuck you. It's French for fuck you.
Wow, and there it goes. Sorry, I was spitting up on my my chai latte tea, which I learned, according to Hindus, is the word TTT, because chai is the word for tea. Latte is the way they make tea, and tea is tea. So
TTT.
They evidently, if they go to Starbucks, they want to commit seppuku shortly thereafterwards. I just really have one last question, because otherwise these interviews go, in a long direction. Clearly, you didn't feel confident enough that you could sell this book for any kind of money, so you've decided to make it free. Putting this thing out here as a free book just means that you could have a bragging rights and be like, over 7 million people downloaded and didn't choose to do anything with this book.
You got it. Yeah.
I mean, what's the theory there?
The theory is that there's a flinch for any kind of purchase above 1 cent. So immediately people go, is it worth it? And the default response is no. And now the decision needs to be made around some other form of value. It needs to go, well, the value is, I don't have to give anything up for this. There's no sacrifice. So if there's no sacrifice, all of a sudden it opens up this whole thing. And the fact that that can happen, it can happen only pretty much because of Domino, Godin, and Amazon. So it's a nice liberty, and it's the future of where publishing is going. So I think that we'll learn from this and figure out that we can do more with books now, that they can be made available in this way.
You keep saying Godin by his last name as if everyone just knows the bald bastard.
Seth Godin, who is a bestseller. Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes.
All marketers are liars. The purple. What's your favorite one of his books, if you have?
I'll tell you. It is The Dip, and this book was designed around, I was walking in Spain over 35 days. I walked 500 miles in Spain in May. And as I was doing it, I listened to The Dip on audiobook from my iPhone. And I was like, if I could make this book anything as good as The Dip is to me, then I'll have succeeded. And I think I actually did that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all seriousness aside, it's a really, really good book. Putting kidding back in, I'm not so sure. But,
Garbage.
All right, I quit, and I'm going to let you be. Julien Smith, if people want to know about you, they can just go to juliensmith.com, seeing as you finally got less cheap and bought that. But it relays to inoveryourhead.net.
Yeah, the dilemma being is that there's also a super famous internet YouTube video maker by the name of Julien Smith. So be careful how you type my name.
Clearly not you, because you don't even understand.
Interesting, yes. Smart, okay. Not funny, no.
No, but internet, video. This is clearly not your purview. Right. You're not even looking at the camera. You're looking at my eyes. You're making eye contact with me instead of.
I'm looking at your eyes. I think I'm looking at you, but
don't worry. I'll teach you how to video blog in some later view. All right. Thanks, Julien.